Welcome to Canada, the country known for being the home of many beavers, but also for being recognized as the second biggest country in the world. The revolution that took place in Quebec during the 1960s was a huge improvement for women's rights. Within a few years, women have acquired a lot of rights and are now considered equal as men. The evolution of women's rights in Canadian history. First, in 1884, in Ontario, the Married Women's Property Act gave married women the same legal rights as men, which allow women to enter into legal agreements and buy property. The rest of the provinces adopted it in the following years, but Quebec was late and signed it in 1964. In 1909, the act of kidnapping women was criminalized, because before that law, the abduction of women over 16 years old was not considered a crime. Then, from 1917 to 1940, women were progressively given the right to vote in the provinces. The last one to give that right in 1940 was Quebec.
In 1921, there were maternity leave advancements in British Columbia. Then, in 1928, Canada's Olympic team included women for the first time. Finally, in 1983, there was the passing of Bill C-127, which made assault within marriage illegal.
I went to university, played soccer, and then after that, I've been a full-time soccer player. What that looks like for us is a lot different for men and women, obviously. The Canadian team is one of the top teams in the world. We have a lot of great players in the top leagues, but that doesn't mean we're making millions. We're playing for a team during season, but then in off season, a lot of us stay with our parents. We don't necessarily have our own place. We're very nomadic and we kind of just get by. Most of the players of my generation and before me for sure just played soccer. They represented Canada because they loved it. It's never because of the money or they would have quit ages ago. It was just because you loved to play soccer, you loved being around the team, and you loved to represent Canada. It was always such an honor for us. Yeah, just the scale right now, unfortunately, internationally is totally different. If a men's team qualifies for a World Cup, they get give or take around $10 million. If a women's team wins a World Cup, they get $2 million that goes towards their family.
So, hi Grandma. Thank you for answering the questions I have to ask you today.
Welcome.
So, first question, how did you feel regarding the opportunities of work that you had?
We had a lot of opportunities because there wasn't many jobs. So you could be a secretary or you could be a hairdresser and you could be a nurse. So I went in nursing, and the minute I finished, I had already work for me.
So last but not least, what do you think changed the most regarding women's rights since you were a teenager?
Ladies pay their share at restaurants, and guys and ask guys out, something not common in 1960.
Okay, so GF, how do you feel regarding the opportunities women had since the last century?
It really improved and the situation really getting better.
Okay, and why do you think it got better?
Well, I think because they went to work, because there were a lot of men who went to the war. They went to the war, so afterwards they were already in the industry, and they wanted to stay at work, and they wanted to work and not being all the time at home. So with the work came the pay and the right to have a bank account and everything like that. Because my mother, I might say that she wasn't able to have a bank account. So
There have been a lot of important women in sciences. So what do you think that was important? Why do you think that was so important in our history?
in history, it wasn't that important because mostly it was men. It was job reserved for men, and but it's tending to change. I read a book upon a Nobel Prize and for women in science, and on 6,000 Nobel Prize, only 17 were received by women in science. It wasn't important. Well, women, they can go in med school, but they don't learn maths, they don't learn science. So how can they pass the exam to get in? So it changed, and now there are more women than men in med school, and for a lot of science there is a lot of women now, but in engineering there's more men than women, but every year there's a bit more women in engineering, so it's coming more and more easy for women to get into those science.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Compared to many countries of the world, Canada has improved a lot concerning women's rights in society. If we compare ourselves to the worst countries like Saudi Arabia, in which women have just acquired the right to drive, we couldn't be proud. But on the other hand, we shall never compare ourselves to the worst countries and should look up to countries like Iceland, who finished first at the Glass Ceiling Index and in 2016 and who finished third in 2018. Canada, on its part, finished in 11th. Quebec has made a lot of changes in the past 50 years. For example, we elected our first Prime Minister who was a female, named Pauline Marois. Also, in the last couple of years, we have made a lot of progress concerning various issues for women, but there is still place for improvement concerning women's rights.